There are very few commanders in Rise of Kingdoms that actually have the defense tree. Commanders like Richard I, Charles Martel, but there are even some newer ones as well, like Artemisia, YSS, and Theodora. And it turns out that there is an absolutely critical talent in the defense tree that got a buff, or at least the wording changed. And I did not realize this for way too long. In this video, we're going to talk about how Desperate Elegy is so much better than I remember it. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, a sponsored content creator for Rise of Kingdoms, and it was shared with me by one of my Kingdom members, Davos, that Desperate Elegy had changed. And this happened over 2 months ago, but I didn't notice. Desperate Elegy makes it so that when you get below 30%, you generate 25 rage per second. In the previous version, that only lasted for 20 seconds. In the new version, there's no restriction. It just goes on forever into infinity. And oh my goodness, are there some busted things that we can do with 25 rage per second. If you like Rise of Kingdoms guides that help you get value and smash your enemies, consider smashing that subscribe button for daily Rise of Kingdoms videos. I am excited to share with you some of the possibilities that we've come up with for Desperate Elegy, because there are some commanders that can do some busted things with this amount of rage. So when would it be good to get 25 rage a second? When you get below 30% of strength, and that matters. It's not for field fighting. That's not when you want it. You're going to try to run away from a fight by the time you're that low because the trades get really bad. No, this is going to be really good for a commander that you're using, like I am, Richard I, in Canyon, for instance. It's going to be really good for rallies and garrisons that run really, really long. And yeah, baby, we tested it, and we're going to include some rally results in this video proving that for rallies and for garrison, you can get the benefit of this for the remainder of your rally or garrison, which is kind of insane. So this benefit, and I don't even have the skill maxed over here, is that 25 rage per second. So for Canyon, this has huge implications because marches get run into the ground in Canyon. That's the whole point. So using Desperate Elegy on a commander like Richard I that I use in an offlane is amazing. It's amazing on any commander you're using as a primary. But when I took a look at some of the commanders that have the defense tree, I realized that, oh my goodness, there are some really busted things that we can do, because this includes commanders like YSS and Theodora, who, okay, yeah, I've got some builds I like to use, right? Like, we've got some builds we like to use already, and there's a ton of points that are really good for this commander already. But could you go all in on Desperate Elegy? 25 rage a second is really good, but there's more. Because if you thought YSS and Theodora as garrison captains were interesting, what about a long-forgotten commander, or at least not used for rallies, and that's Leonidas. Leonidas has the defense tree, and not only does Leonidas have the defense tree, but Leonidas also has increased speed of rage gained by 15%. So on him, it's absolutely, completely 100% out of control. So there's two things I want to do here. First of all, I want to share with you a little bit of archaeology we did to figure out, wait a minute, we know there was a patch a couple months ago. They changed the wording of some of the skills to reflect reality. Did the actual skills change? Have they always worked this way? Has it always been the case that Desperate Elegy was giving an endless amount of 25 rage per second? And if so, what can we do with a commander like Leonidas for a rally? And is Leonidas with Herald a rally combo that actually can break Zenobia? We're going to test that in this video, but first, let me show you the digging we did to find actually the evidence about how this skill used to work. So I did some digging, and this video right over here, man, this guy's video is going to explode, and he's not going to have any clue why, or she, or they. They're not going to have any clue why their video exploded. I looked in this video. It was over 7 months ago, before they changed the wording on the skills. And it turns out that Desperate Elegy has always worked this way. When you get below 30%, boom, for the rest of the time you're using that march, it's got the extra rage gen, which is amazing. It's so good. So yeah, Desperate Elegy has always been good. There are some number of people who probably already knew this. This person over here did. I didn't. A lot of other people didn't. Maybe you all knew this and I'm a complete noob and I'm way late to the party. But let's go and get a look at Leonidas and see if we can break him for rallying and trying to take down a Zenobia garrison. So I want to start by saying there are obviously a a lot of combinations that could be really interesting to try to take down Zenobia. We found 0 that worked. So we're trying desperately to find something, anything that works against Zenobia. We thought, hey, let's try out Leonidas with Herald. And by the way, defense tree is also available on Theodora. What if we make Theodora the primary and see how well that rage gen works on her? So we're going to run a bunch of combinations, and in this case, we're actually going to reinforce the rallies. So what you're watching on the screen is reinforced rallies where we're testing this stuff out to see what sticks and what doesn't. And unfortunately, when we look at the result here, this did do better than a lot of other things that we tested, but it still was not amazing. And maybe if you ran the rally for longer, it would do even better. I'm not entirely sure. Here's the Leonidas with the Herald. We have 392,000 severely injured, and the Garrison has 271,000 severely injured. And I'll point out, the Garrison had less reinforcements than we did. So a lot of things are stacked in the favor of the rally, and it's still kind of getting its butt kicked. The next thing we did is run the exact same combo, but with a Zenobia primary on the Garrison. And the reason that I really like the Zenobia primary on the Garrison, defending against a commander like Herald, is that he does lots of skill damage, and the support tree is very powerful against that. And as it turns out, that did reflect in the results. This was much better than the previous rally that we did. So if you are the Garrison captain here, you want to use that Zenobia primary with Theodora secondary. I know a lot of people would say they knew that already. They'd tell you they knew that already, but I don't know if they would have told you to try out the defense tree. We tested it. It didn't do as well. Very interesting to see how that went. 409,000 sevs for the attacker and 189,000 sevs for the defender. The next thing we wanted to test was just a baseline. Like, what if we reinforce an Alexander the Great Herald rally? How does that do? So we ran the exact same thing that we had just run on the defense, the Zenobia with the Theodora, and we ran that into the Alexander the Great with Herald secondary. We wanted to do this again to baseline and say which of these combos performs better, and honestly, they were kind of about the same. 406,000 sevs in this case for the attacker, and 181,000 sevs for the defender. And as you may have noticed in a lot of the video footage we've had up on the screen, yeah, a lot of folks are getting hit on their way in to reinforce the rally, which is like just going to be the reality of how this is going to work in KVK2, for instance. So I don't think it's unfair that in, the reports they are getting hit by the rally when they're on their way in, reducing the number of troops that kind of make their way into the rally. And I still have questions around how this would go if we were to run the rally for even longer, because a commander like Herald really goes bonkers when he has been running for a very, very long time to get the max stacks of his skill going. Okay, so when we ran Leonidas primary, it really didn't deliver exactly what we thought we might get from that experiment. The 25 rage per second is amazing. Combining it with the speed of rage gained of 15% is really good. Maybe even with 5 reinforcements to the rally, it's still not measuring enough time in which Leonidas has that amazing benefit of having that extra rage, and it's weighted too heavily on everything leading up to that. But I would have swore that having skills fire off more frequently and getting this 30% health boost to your march really frequent and really fast would be amazing. But it didn't get it done. And the reason it's not getting the job done, I think, is that he just doesn't have enough damage factor here. 600 damage factor unless you have the target silenced or they have an attack debuff. For now, that's not something we can actually inflict onto the target, but it is conceivable that in Heroic Anthem KVK, when you can add support skills, and if you don't know what those are, I'll have a card up in the top where we did a full video on that. When you have support skills, maybe you can have some other way to reduce the attack of the target to elevate Leonidas' damage, and maybe then you get the job done. But there are other commanders with the defense tree that I do want to talk about for just a moment, like Artemisia. Hello there. Hello there. Artemisia already has the archer tree and the garrison tree, which are very good. But adding in the defense tree and the fact that you could go all the way up to Desperate Elegy does give you a lot of options in terms of the amount of rage that you're generating. The only downside I see with this is that there's a little bit of anti-synergy here with the 4th skill. When you get really close to using your active skill, you are going to silence yourself, which means you're probably going to be wasting some amount of rage if you're generating too much of it, which is a weird sentiment to have, that like, oh man, I'm generating too much rage. What a high quality problem. Maybe that becomes an issue. Maybe. It might not even become an issue, honestly. But I think with that much rage per second, it could become a problem. We already saw that a Theodora primary was not working as well. I imagine that will be the same sort of a case with a YSS primary when compared to a Zenobia primary. But that's something that is certainly warranting some testing. And when it comes to builds for Canyon, I can show you this build over here that I'm using works really well. And now I know why. And I might even swap another point into Desperate Elegy because I will get below 30% when I'm in a game mode like Canyon. That's the whole point. You could use Desperate Elegy on Martel as well and get a lot of value there. So if you've got your Martel and your Richard split to lead 2 different marches, that would work very well. And of course, if you're using your Leonidas in a game mode like Canyon, yeah, I do think that going in on that defense tree to get Desperate Elegy would give you some really good value. But what do you think about Desperate Elegy? I did not know about this until very recently. It's been this way basically since the beginning of time, so apparently I'm the one who's out of the loop on all this stuff. Did you know that Desperate Elegy didn't have that cooldown anymore? Are you trying out different commanders and builds and combinations? I mean, even Matilda's got the defense tree. She's the only epic that has that. I don't think there's anything we could do with Matilda, but let me know down below in the comments if you've got any crazy theories or ideas for how you could break Desperate Elegy in half. It's conceivable that with a commander that has more of a rage engine tied to it, like something that makes, I don't know, you get more rage whenever you use your active skill, like say, I don't know, the new Archer paired with an Artemisia primary. Maybe this is a thing, right? New Archer, Artemisia primary with the defense tree. I mean, I'm mostly joking about using Artemisia to rally structures, but am I joking? Throw a like on the video if you enjoyed this. Consider subscribing to the channel for daily Rise of Kingdoms videos. If you like the latest and greatest news and information, we recently did a bundle guide for the resource reserves. It's an expensive bundle, not something I'm going to be picking up. And later today, we will be live streaming Eve of the Crusade for Heroic Anthem starting. We expect that will happen. We're also going to get our matchup. So, hey, you're going to want to check that out. Subscribe so you don't miss a thing. And until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.